Hey everybody, this is Austin. For this week's discussion on the consumer behavior model, I wanted to briefly explain the behavior model itself and then talk about a real world experience that I had with the behavior model a little earlier last year. As we can see, the behavior model is circular, it's cyclical in nature. I think it's easiest to start at external influences and internal influences. From a very young age, influences affect us and impact us, whether that's an external influence like culture, maybe where we live, certain parts of Utah, we're more inclined to do things a certain way. Maybe our families are different, and families can be a big part of that. Family was certainly a big part of my personal example. Sometimes we see really creative marketing activities or, commercials or ad campaigns that can influence us to purchase a product. Internal influences are also a big deal, and they kind of work in tandem. We have perceptions, we have experiences with items, products, services that are either positive and negative, and those can lead to lifestyle changes, just like external influence can lead to self-concept changes. Now, when we're around people, whether coworkers, friends, associates that have a certain product or an item that's cool or trendy, that can impact our self-concept, especially if we don't have that product. Once we purchase that product or once we use the service, whatever it may be, we start to feel more included in that, subculture or social group. Internal influences work in a similar way. If we have a positive experience with one kind of product or one brand of product, that's going to influence us to continue using that in our lifestyle. Once we evaluate our needs and desires, like what we actually need and what we actually want, we can go through a decision-making process where we identify the problem, we do research. I do a ton of research about things that I buy. We evaluate comparable alternatives, and then you obviously pick where you're going to buy the product, and then you go through a post-purchase process. And that post-purchase process can lead to internal influences and external influences if we have a good or bad experience. A good example in my personal life, we recently had our first baby, and before we had the baby, was using a Google Pixel 2 XL for my personal cell phone, and I loved it. It was affordable when I bought it. It had a really nice camera for the time, and when we had our baby, I realized I was running into a problem where my technologically incapable parents, who were very comfortable with the Apple ecosystem, were struggling in using a video chat application that would allow them to video conference and see our baby. They live in the Denver area still. I went through a process where I identified that my family was going to be an influence here. It wasn't necessarily self-concept for me. I'm pretty impartial when it comes to, the daily things I use. If it's a good value, I try to do it. And if it's, a stylish or popular thing, it's a bonus for me. I viewed it as something that I needed more, even though it certainly wasn't. And my problem that I identified was that I couldn't communicate regularly with my parents in the way that I wanted to with my Google phone. I did research. I waited until the iPhone 11 series came out to purchase my iPhone XR, which I've used and loved and which has been super convenient to communicate with my parents. And I picked an outlet. I think I went to Best Buy with it, and I purchased it. And my post-purchase process and mental processing has been so positive that in the foreseeable future, if my parents are using Apple products, I'm probably going to stick at least with an Apple cell phone because I feel like it offers me a greater value in communicating with them. So sorry, it's a little long, but that was kind of my explanation, personal experience with the consumer behavior model.